Decades ago, California decided to move entire rivers of water from where it falls to where it doesn't. But that kind of massive engineering was almost certainly a costly mistake. And now a few corporate giants are hoping to force us into an even more costly boondoggle.
Millions of acres would have remained a barren waste.
It turns out there may have been a reason why these acres were a barren waste. Dr. Gray Brecken is a University of California professor who has studied water issues for much of his life.
The original settlers there knew that there was something really funky about that soil. When the state and federal water systems began putting water onto that soil, it began leaching out a lot of chemicals and salts and various other things that were in the soil, particularly selenium.
The problems with the soil became apparent when massive irrigation with the northern water began. California would come to learn that selenium is toxic. Dead and deformed birds by the thousands began turning up in ponds left by runoff from the irrigated acres. But birds are not the only creatures drinking agricultural runoff. We do too.
Those toxic waters are still going in the state's water supply system, so that people in Southern California actually are drinking that agricultural swill, which is becoming ever more toxic.
How did we get here?
Brother, can you spare a dime?
Back during the Depression, the government became a job creator. Lots of jobs were created when Congress gave California a whopper of an undertaking, building a plumbing system to move water from where it falls to where it doesn't.
Over 20 dams and reservoirs to store 14 million acre-feet of water.
Taking 14 million acre-feet of fresh water out of the natural systems would turn out to have enormous consequences beyond poisoning the irrigated soil. In nature, that water would have flowed instead into the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta and down into San Francisco Bay. It would have nurtured enormous fisheries as it had done for tens of thousands of years. Without that water, the fisheries began to die, and we all began to pay in unforeseen ways.
You can tell what's happening simply by the price at the market. The price is skyrocketing of all kinds of fish, and that's essentially because all of the fish are in danger and many of them are on the verge of extinction.
But if the rest of us are paying the price, the people getting the water have had a period of stunning prosperity. Canals built with our money take subsidized water to their lands, so they have been able to plant water-hungry crops like almond orchards in what amounts to a natural desert. Outbound ships carry containers full of their crops to the markets of the world and leave behind them toxic soils and a California delta on the brink of natural disaster. Now, the same apostles of chemically intensive industrialized agribusiness want us to buy them a new, incredibly more expensive plumbing system. They say it's in the name of California agriculture and California jobs. What they don't say is that their farms will soon be rendered useless by the toxic buildup in the soil. Agriculture is not the name of this new game. These corporate farmers have another crop in mind.
The most valuable crop that you can grow in an arid climate such as California is a city. And that's where the water is going to go.
If their plan is successful, today's corporate farmers will become tomorrow's developers and water merchants, using our water to build cities on their own farms and selling what water they don't need further south. We will have paid $50 billion for the destruction of the Delta and the poisoning of the land to the benefit of a handful of corporate raiders.
Today, the valley is benefiting from the creation of a giant irrigation project.
If the idea of moving entire rivers through concrete canals was a mistake the first time, 70 years ago, how much worse would it be to repeat that mistake today when we can see so much more clearly the outcome? Please, tell him to say no to a peripheral canal.